medium requirement for fermentation process. Fermentation. Fermentations process is a catabolic process that makes a limited amount of ATP from glucose or other organic molecules without electron transport chains and that produce a characteristic end product such as ethyl alcohol and lactate. There are a few types of fermentation process. The first one is batch fermentation. The second one is continuous fermentations, and lastly is the feed batch fermentation. Batch fermentation is a process where all substrates are added at zero time after inoculation takes place, and the batches is allowed under a controlled environment to proceed until maximum end product concentration is achieved. Continuous fermentation is a continuous process where the nutrient is continuously added to the fermenter at a fixed rate. Feed batch fermentation is a technique where one or more nutrients are fed to the bioreactor during cultivation, at which the product remains in the bioreactor until the end of the run. Needed for fermentation process. The first one is oxygen, the second one is basic substrate such as sugar, and lastly is yeast. Industrial microbe is a microorganism that is used to manufacture food or industrial product in a large quantity in the bioreactor. Requirement of microbe for fermentation process. The first one is water, the second one is source of energy, the third one is carbon and nitrogen, next is mineral element, vitamin, chelator, and lastly the oxygen. Role of microorganism in fermentation process. High surface area to volume ratio, mode of nutrient transportations, genetic adaptability, and lastly is metabolic.
Next is medium. The definition of medium is it enables the nutritional needs of microorganisms to be addressed, and this can enhance the control of fermentation efficiency. Typical medium ingredients are nutrients, gelling agents, energy, buffering agents, indicator pH for change. Types of media. First, crude media. Second, defined media. First type of media is crude media. It is consisting of unrefined agricultural commodity. Second one is defined media. It usually composes pure biochemicals of the shelf. Example of crude media is yeast extract, and for defined media is in exact medium. Roles of media in fermentation process are growth factors for fastidious organisms. Second one is give nutrients for microorganisms.
Criteria for medium preparation. An ideal medium preparation will yield maximum yield of product, maximum product concentration, maximum rate of product formation. The next one is the consistent quality, readily available throughout yield, minimum yield of undefined product, and minimal problems during media preparation. The effect of medium design on strain development. You can't choose the best strain until you have the best medium. and you can't design the best medium until you have the best strain. This is because no medium works best for all strains being tested. So how? This can be improved by conducting medium design and strain development simultaneously. So what are the constraints and challenges during medium preparation? In lab scale include development time, lack of shaker space, cost of development efforts, lack of water quality, effect of components on assay techniques, precipitation reaction, and foaming. The transport cost, bulk storage and handling, medium cost, test problems, stability of the supply, the disposal cost, dust hazard, batch-to-batch variability, and power consumption are the challenges in industrial scale. Moving on to the improvement strategies. Literature research, which is borrow someone else's medium. Take a look and see what media others have used to grow the same genus, species, or strain. Experience is a key. The problem is too many options and too much effort is required. Component swapping, which is trying everything strategy. One medium composition is taken and swapped for a new one at the same incorporation level. Advantages: enable a large number of components to be compared. Useful to understand microbial regulation. Best screening tool. The disadvantage of component swapping is poorly performed as it does not consider components concentration or interaction effects. Biology mimicry, which is mash and rinse strategy. By using a mass balance strategy, the composition of cells, concentration of cell mass, cell growth, desired extracellular product concentration must be in the right proportion for the cell to grow. The advantages of biology mimicry are enables theoretically limiting nutrients to be identified and charged if denied, enables a maximum theoretical final cell concentration to be selected.
Medium formulation for optimal growth. What is medium formulation? Medium formulation addresses improvement of the nutritional and chemical environment of cells in a bioreactor and represents a significant cost and time factor in bioprocess development. There is 8 elements of microbe required for optimal growth, such as vitamins, oxygen, energy, antifoam, water, carbon, nitrogen, and mineral elements. Vitamins. First, many bacteria can synthesize all necessary vitamins from basic elements. Second, most natural carbon and nitrogen sources also contain at least some required vitamins as minor contaminants. Oxygen is supplied in the form of air containing about 21% of oxygen. Oxygen requirements may vary widely upon carbon source. The third element is energy. The oxidation of the medium components such as carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins.
Water is major component of our fermentation and used in auxiliary services. Mineral element consists of two, major element and minor element. Carbon source such as carbohydrate. Examples: starch, barley, sucrose, molasses. Oil and fat used as carrier for antifoam in antibiotic process. Vegetable oil. Nitrogen. Inorganic nitrogen such as ammonia gas, ammonium salt, nitrate. Organic nitrogen, amino acid, protein, and urea. Antifoam. Antifoam are used to reduce foam formation during fermentation. These are the characteristics of the antifoam. Examples of the antifoam are alcohol, ester, fatty acid, and derivative.
Growth cycle vs product pattern. There is 5 phases in growth curve, which is lag phase, exponential phase, deceleration phase, stationary phase, and lastly, dead phase. In lag phase, there's no net growth of the cell, and this phase is unproductive because no product is being produced. This phase is prolonged due to poor inoculation or nutrient content, and multiple lag phase is called deoxys growth as it involves multiple carbon sources. In exponential phase, the cell mass and cell number increase exponentially with time as all the cells multiply rapidly simultaneously, and the nutrient supply overcome the demand and growth rate become independent of nutrients. In deceleration phase, essential nutrients are being exhausted by the cell, and the cell growth are being limited. The cell also start to produce toxin byproduct, and the cell undergo internal reconstruction to survive. In stationary phase, cell growth rates equal cell death rate. The cell also have active metabolism to produce metabolites. Example of metabolites are ethanol and antibiotic. There are two types of metabolite, that is primary and secondary. The differences between primary metabolites and secondary metabolites are primary metabolites are being produced throughout the cell cycle, while secondary metabolites only start to being produced at the stationary phase and after. Finally, at the dead phase, lack of nutrient and high concentration of toxic byproduct leads to cell death and reduce the cell population. At this stage, death rate is greater than growth rate.
Growth of bacteria has 4 stages. During lag phase, bacteria starts to grow. In the log phase is the constant growth rate and uniform metabolic activity. In stationary phase, the number of dividing cells equals the number of dying cells. In the death phase is the number of dying cells exceeds the number of dividing cells. There are basically 3 types of growth and product pattern, which is type 1, type 2, and type 3. Type 1 is growth associated. Type 2 is mixed growth associated, meanwhile in type 3 is non-growth associated. First type is growth associated. It is when a product is formed simultaneously within a cell. The product concentration increases with cell concentration. The specific rate of product formation is proportional to the specific growth of rates. Some of the examples are constitutive enzymes and ethanol fermentation. Type 2 is mixed growth associated. It is when a product formation in where combination of growth rate and cell concentration. Type 2 product formation mainly take place in the deceleration phase, which is the slow growth and stationary phase. The examples are xanthan gum and lactic acid fermentation. Meanwhile, type 3 is non-growth associated. It is when a product formation is unrelated to growth rate, but it is a function of cell concentration. Products are formed during stationary phase when the net growth rate is 0. What is meant is that the specific rates of product formation is constant. The examples are antibiotics. The exponential growth phase is the most important phase of the growth cycle when the product are trying to produce is either a biomass itself or a growth-associated products. The establishment of exponential growth is dependent on the number of factors, for example, viable inoculum and suitable energy source.